If I told you that losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to me, would you believe me? Most people wouldn't. Most people hear the word divorce and think of failure, shame, endings. But for me, divorce was the moment I finally opened my eyes. It was the moment my real life began. My name is Elisa. I'm 69 years old now. And today, I want to tell you the story of how my whole world collapsed and how somehow, in the middle of that darkness, I found the strongest version of myself. This isn't a fairy tale. It's not pretty. It's messy and painful and real. And maybe someone listening today needs to hear it. When I was young, I married a man named Richard. I walked into that marriage with dreams in my heart and stars in my eyes. I thought love meant giving everything and keeping nothing for yourself. From the first morning as a new bride, my life began to shrink. Slowly, quietly, almost softly, like a door closing without a sound. I cooked, I cleaned, I pressed his shirts, I managed the house like a soldier on duty. People praised me. What a perfect wife. What a lucky woman. Lucky. That word still stings, because deep inside, I was disappearing. I didn't buy clothes unless he approved. I didn't visit a friend without asking. My days began with his needs and ended with his moods. I thought this was love. I thought this was normal. I thought that silence meant peace. Looking back, I realized it was just the sound of me losing myself. I remember a day when I had a fever, shaking, barely able to stand. Richard handed me a shirt and said, "Press it, and don't leave wrinkles." I cried quietly while the iron heated in my trembling hands. And still, I stayed. I served. I hoped. I told myself, one day he will appreciate me. One day he'll see my love. That day never came. One evening, he sat at the table, calm, cold, distant, and he said the words that shattered my world. "I want a divorce." At first, I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe it. After everything I gave, after everything I sacrificed, I begged him. I told him I would change. I told him we could fix things. I am not proud of how low I bent. I was ready to erase myself completely if it meant he'd stay. But nothing touched him. He looked at me like a stranger. He said he wanted peace. He said he was tired. Tired. The man who had never lived a day without my service was tired? He pulled his hand away when I tried to hold it, and when he walked out the door, he didn't even look back. The world didn't end that night, but it stopped moving. The next 6 months were darkness. The house felt like a coffin, too big, too quiet, too cold. I moved like a ghost, touching his shirts, smelling them, breaking down all over again. I'd wake up and make tea for 2, then remember he wasn't coming back. Days blurred into nights. Nights felt endless. Every time I tried to sleep, those words echoed in my mind. I want a divorce. I didn't answer calls. I didn't meet anyone. I didn't want pity or advice or fake positivity. I wanted Richard. I wanted my old life, even if that life had slowly killed me. People said, "You're free now." But I didn't feel free. I felt worthless. One night, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I looked empty, old, lost. I touched the glass and whispered, "Who are you now?" And for the first time, I realized I didn't know. That question, "Who am I?" followed me everywhere. For years, I had never asked it. I didn't need to. I was always his wife, his helper, his shadow. Now he was gone, and all that was left was me. One evening, with shaky hands, I wrote in a little notebook, I am still here. It was just a small sentence, but it felt like a heartbeat. The next day, I stood in front of the mirror again. Same tired eyes, same pale face. But this time, I said out loud, "Elisa, you are not gone. You are still you." For the first time in months, my voice didn't break. I promised the woman in the mirror, "I will find you again." My first steps were small, almost silly. I cooked a meal that I liked, not Richard's favorite, mine. I sat at the table alone, eating slowly, and I cried because I realized I hadn't tasted food for myself in years. The next day, I opened an old sewing box. Once upon a time, I loved sewing. Richard had called it a waste of time, so I stopped. Now I picked up a needle with trembling fingers and stitched a small piece of fabric. That tiny stitch was my first step towards freedom. Days passed and I made more things: a cloth bag, a scarf, a table cover. My neighbor saw one and asked if she could buy it. Buy it! I almost cried. Not because of the money, but because for the first time in so long, I felt valuable. More neighbors came, more orders followed. The little money I earned felt like magic, like proof that I still mattered. Slowly, the emptiness inside me started to shrink. I reinvested the little I earned in better fabric, better tools. My work improved. Word spread. Orders increased. I worked long hours, but this time it wasn't slavery. It was purpose. Women in the community praised me, asked for advice, told me I inspired them. Me, the same woman who couldn't get out of bed months earlier? My savings grew. My confidence grew. My home filled with color again, with life, with hope. One day, a small local newspaper wrote about me, the woman who rebuilt her life. I cried reading it, not from sadness, but because I finally felt seen. Slowly, gently, my heart healed. Not because someone loved me, but because I started loving myself. And today, if you saw me, you might call me strong. But I wasn't always this woman. I was broken. I was lost. I was invisible. And divorce, the thing I feared the most, became the door that set me free. I learned that you can lose everything and still rise. You can fall apart and still return stronger. You can be left behind and still move forward. Today, I am not Richard's wife. I am not someone's shadow. I am Elisa, a woman who survived, rebuilt, and finally chose herself. And if you're listening right now and you feel lost, forgotten, invisible, please remember this. You are still here. Your story is not over. Sometimes the ending you fear is the beginning you need. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next story.